Welcome everyone. Today we are into one of the most powerful concepts in modern product design, gamified thinking in product design. Over the next 17 minutes, we will explore how to strategically integrate meaningful user experience and importantly avoid the common pitfalls that destroy engagement. Let's get started. The agenda for today's session is first, we will begin with the core concepts of UX and gamification. Then, we will explore whether gamification is actually right for your product. Next, we'll talk through the product design framework. After that, we will tackle the biggest trap, shallow gamification. We will examine weak versus strong gamification with real examples and then shift our focus about what separates amateurs from professionals. Finally, we will explore the science behind gamification, discuss ethical boundaries, and real world applications like performance management systems. User experience. UX is not just about pretty interfaces, it's fundamentally about developing products that provide personally relevant and meaningful experiences. Think of it as a complete journey the user takes when interacting with your product, from their first impression to their return visit months later. Gamification is the technique of applying game like elements in a non game scenario. You're taking the principles that makes game engaging and applying them into real world problems like learning platforms, fitness apps, e-commerce sites, and enterprise software. Do we need to gamify? This is the first critical question you need to ask. Should we gamify this product at all? The answer is only if it solves a real problem. Here's why gamification matters when done correctly. First, it adds genuine motivation. Users are not just checking off tasks, they're experiencing engagement, challenging challenges, and competitive spirit just like in actual games. Second, it drives specific user actions. A fitness app, for example, can challenge users to check in daily exercise for the week with rewards that reinforce the habit. A learning platform can gamify quiz completion to increase the learning consistency. But here's the catch: if you gamify something that doesn't benefit from it, you'll create frustration, not engagement. So before you add a single mechanic, ask: does my product need motivation? Will gamification solve my retention problem? Are users actually motivated by competition or progress? The product design framework. Every solid product starts with a structured process. This framework has 7 stages, and as gaming technology designers, you need to know this. Empathize. You observe real users and develop deep insights about what matters to them, not what you think they want. What they actually need is what we need to focus. Observe. You study how users currently behave and uncover hidden needs they may not even articulate. Watch some struggle with the task and you'll find your opportunity. Synthesize. You take all those observations and define a clear problem statement. This is crucial. A poorly defined problem leads to a poorly defined solution. Ideation. Now you generate multiple concepts. If you jump straight to the first idea, you have already failed. Generate 5 to 10 solutions before picking one. Test. Validate your ideas with actual users. Does your gamification concept actually engage them or does it feel forced? Deploy. You implement the solution in the real world, but deployment is not the end. It's the beginning of the next iteration. The trap of shallow gamification. Here's where most products fail. When designers don't understand gamification's purpose, they grab three highly visible mechanics, what they call PBL, points, badges, and leaderboards. Badges are symbolic rewards for completing specific tasks. They feel meaningful at first, but they become a visual clutter if they are given out arbitrarily. Points, numeric scores, tracking activity. The problem? Once users realize that grinding points doesn't actually mean anything, that there is no real consequence, the engagement collapses. Leaderboards, ranking systems create competition, which sounds good until you realize that most users will never be hash 1. If you're ranked 500 out of 1000, does that motivate you or demoralize you? The trap is treating these three machines as the entire toolkit. They are not. Shallow gamification looks good in demos but fails in the field because it doesn't address why users should care in the first place. Core principles of true engagement. These include autonomy. Users need to feel they are making real choices, not following a predetermined path. Give them options. Let them decide how to progress. Mastery. Humans are wired to get better at things. Your system must provide clear skill progression, challenges that grow with the user's ability, and feedback that shows improvement. Purpose. Users need to understand why they are doing this. What's the larger goal? A fitness app is not about reaching a step count. It's about building health habits. A learning game is not about points. It's about becoming competent. Social connection. Multiplayer games work because of social elements. Even in single player products, knowing you're part of a community changes everything. Shallow gamification ignores these principles, but real gamification builds on them. Let me show you the difference with two concrete examples. An example for weak gamification, a classroom app that avoids points and badges for every single quiz. Students quickly rush through quizzes just to rack up points. They memorize answers without understanding concepts. Once the novelty wears off, usually within 2 weeks, they stop using the app. The gamification added noise, not value. Why did it fail? Because the system focused on visible mechanics like points and badges, rather than the underlying reason students should engage, like understanding material and developing competence. Strong gamification example. A learning game where students earn resources to build virtual projects. They collaborate with classmates, unlock increasingly complex challenges, and must strategize their approach. Success here requires actual learning and teamwork. So, what's the outcome? Students stay engaged long term. They discuss strategies, help each other solving problems, and view the learning as meaningful. The difference, the strong version aligned gamification mechanics with intrinsic human motivation. It was not just about rewards, it was about the experience. Do you need to be a game designer? Here's a radical idea. Professional gamers don't talk about PBLs at all. They don't even think about points and badges. They play because of the things that truly matter: strategy, social connections, the drive to overcome meaningful challenges, and self improvement. This insight should reshape your entire approach. If you're designing a gamified product, you don't need to think like a game industry professional designing Fortnite. You need to think like a game designer who understands player psychology. The critical distinction is between purposeful game design and superficial element dropping. Element dropping is seeing that Candy Crush has a progress bar. So you just add a progress bar to your app. Purposeful game design asks, what psychological drive am I tapping into? Does a progress bar actually serve that drive? When you understand this distinction, your designs immediately improve. You stop asking, what game element should I add? And start asking, what human motivation am I trying to activate? The shift in design mindset. This is perhaps the most important slide. There are two fundamentally different mindsets when approaching gamified products: the inexperienced mindset, the thoughtful mindset. The inexperienced mindset focuses purely on elements. The designer asks, what mechanics should I add? Let's add monsters, swords, crops, and birds. This approach grabs every shiny mechanic from popular games and throws them into your product. So, what's the result? The design has all the right ingredients. It looks impressive in presentations, but it remains completely dull because user motivation is entirely neglected. The thoughtful mindset starts with intrinsic emotion. The designer asks first, how do I want people to feel? Should they feel inspired, proud, productive, accomplished? They define their emotional objective before choosing mechanics. Then, and only then, they select game elements as a means to achieve that emotional goal. The science of pleasure and motivation. To truly understand gamification, you need to understand the neuroscience. Let me break down how games hijack your brain's reward system. Dopamine release. When you make a correct decision or succeed at a challenge, your brain releases dopamine. This isn't just pleasant, it actively encourages you to repeat the action. Every success primes you for the next attempt. Instant feedback loops. Games are masters at this. You perform an action and immediately you get feedback. A point appears, a sound plays, a progress bar goes forward, a visual effect explodes on screen. Each of these micro feedback events triggers a small dopamine hit. The neural reinforcement. Here's what it gets fascinating. Each feedback instance doesn't just feel good in the moment, it actually strengthens neural circuits. With repetition, your brain starts predicting these rewards, and the anticipation itself becomes motivating. Internalized drive. Over time, something magic happens. The motivation becomes completely internal. Players don't play because they are chasing the external rewards anymore. They play because their brain craves the positive feeling of progress and mastery. The reward mechanism has been internalized. This is why shallow gamification fails. It generates dopamine hits but doesn't build intrinsic motivation. Your product becomes a novelty, not a habit. With strong motivation designed around these principles, can create genuine behavioral change. Dull versus juicy product feel. Here's a term from game design, game feel. It describes the visceral, tactical sensation of interacting with a system. It's not about mechanic, it's about polish and responsiveness. Imagine a quiz app where you click an answer. There's a half-second delay, and then it shows correct in plain text. Nothing is animated, no sound, no confirmation. It feels lifeless and passive. Users are not getting emotional engagement. They are clicking through tasks. Learners lose interest immediately. What about juicy game feel? Now imagine the same quiz. You click an answer and instantly, particles explode on screen. A satisfying ding sound plays. The correct answer is highlighted in green, and a plus 10 point notification bounces up and fades away. The feedback is vivid, responsive, and satisfying. The juicy version connects through immersion. Users feel like they are the part of the experience, not just operating it. And because the feedback is constant and satisfying, motivation is consistent. That is why game feel matters just as mechanics. Two games with identical role systems can feel completely different based on their polish and responsiveness. Why gamification systems fail? Gamification systems fail for predictable reasons. First, misalignment with user motivation. You're gamifying something that users actually don't care about. Adding points to your boring task doesn't make the task meaningful. Second, lack of progression clarity. Users don't understand what they are working toward. If they can't see how today's progress connects to tomorrow's goals, engagement fades away. Third, false scarcity and artificial barriers. Bad gamification artificially slows the users down. They see through it and resentment replaces engagement. Fourth, reward fatigue. When every action gets a reward, nothing feels special. The dopamine response habituates. Users need bigger and bigger hits to stay engaged. Fifth, inappropriate complexity. Casual users don't want to learn complex mechanic system. If your onboarding takes 10 minutes, you have already lost 80% of your audience. Ethical boundaries in gamification. This is critical. Just because you can gamify something doesn't mean you should. Gamification is a powerful tool for psychological influence, and with that power comes responsibility. Manipulative design. Some apps intentionally exploit psychological vulnerabilities. Infinite scrolls, variable reward schedules, inducing notifications. These are designed to be addictive, not helpful. As technologists, you have an ethical duty to avoid these patterns. Transparency. Users should understand what they are participating in. If you're using a game mechanics to influence their behavior, they should know. Dark patterns hide the design logic. Ethical design reveals it. Harm prevention. Ask yourself, what if this product is used by children, people with gambling addiction, people susceptible to manipulation? Does your gamification harm the population? And respect user time. Some gamified systems are designed to waste time while appearing productive. Progress in the system has no real world value. That's disrespectful. Alignment with values. Your gamification should reinforce positive behaviors. A fitness app that encourages people to exercise is ethical. An app that encourages unhealthy behavior disguised as achievement is not. Algorithms and big data integration. Modern gamified systems operate at scale that requires data. Algorithms can personalize your gamification experience in powerful ways. Adaptive difficulty. Algorithms track your performance and adjust challenge levels in real time. If you're struggling, tasks become slightly easier. If you're dominating, the game ramps up difficulty. This keeps you in the optimal flow state. Challenges, but not overwhelming challenges. Personalized rewards. Different users are motivated by different things. Algorithms can detect what type of rewards drive engagement for each individual and adjust accordingly. Some users respond to competition, others respond to achievement or community. Big data can identify patterns. When a user is about to churn, algorithms can send targeted re engagement content. When a user is about to experience frustration, the system can adjust and prevent it. Real time feedback and yearly reviews. Let me show you a real world application. Traditional annual reviews are delayed, stressful, and heavily demotivating. An employee works for 12 months and then gets one conversation about how they performed. Enter gamified real time performance management, what I call the basketball coach approach. Imagine a system with live dashboards tracking your KPIs immediately. You can see in real time how your work impacts the key metrics. You have personalized goal with distinct progress benchmark. The result, motivation doesn't crash after this feedback session. It stays elevated because the feedback is constant.